Let's look at how to set up the generator and get things spinning. Take your turbine and attach it to the motor, the generator part, by just fitting it onto the stopper. You want to make a nice snug fit. You want to check to make sure that it's even and not all wobbly. And you can change the angle by turning this sideways, whichever way you want to get it lined up. And you can raise and lower the motor generator assembly as well, just by unscrewing on this end right here and tightening it when you're done. You can raise and lower these as well. This is where the can is going to sit over the flame. The can is a paint can, and the lid comes off using a can opener. Please make sure when you use the can opener that you use the round and not the pointy end. You don't want to poke holes in the can because that will let out the steam that you're trying to keep under pressure. So take off the lid and you can put some water in using a graduated cylinder. Put in 300 milliliters of water, so 3 of the 100 milliliter graduated cylinders of water into your can, and then put the top on really tight. You got to make sure it's on tight so that the steam doesn't escape. So pound it on there real tight all the way around. The reason we're using paint cans is because if they do get over pressurized, the top will come off, and that will keep the can from exploding under pressure. There's a hole in the can. You want to make sure to get the hole pointed in the direction of your turbine, and then adjust the turbine so that it's at the same level as the hole. And then we'll get your flame lit up, and it'll take a little while for the can to heat up enough to boil the water. In a later part of this project, what we'll do is we'll measure how much time it takes for that to happen. So I'll light my flame, and we'll check back when it's boiling. Okay, now my water's boiling and I'm getting a good head of steam going here. Now steam is very hot, so you got to be very careful that you don't put your hand right in front of that hot steam and get yourself burned. I'm going to wear some gloves when I handle the can because I don't want to burn myself on the hot metal. Now the steam is coming out, and the goal is to get that jet of steam to go across the turbine and make the turbine spin. So I might have to make a few adjustments to get them lined up just right. And if it doesn't start spinning on its own, you can give it a little kickstart by spinning it yourself. That'll help it to get going. So turn the can as needed, adjust the levels, adjust the angles, adjust the height, whatever you need to do to get things to line up just the right way. The faster you get it to go, the more electricity you'll be able to generate. Now, we'll keep track of what you generate on the meter. On the very back of the assignment, there are 2 measurements that we're going to make. One is for volts and one is for amps. And the instructions tell you which buttons to push, and then what I want you to do is just make a mark on here, draw the way that the needle on the meter looks on your paper. We'll figure out what the measurements are later. Now, if you see that the needle isn't moving to the right like this, there's a button here that you can push that changes the polarity on your meter. And there are 2 measurements that we'll make. The first one we'll make by pushing the red button here to measure volts. And so I'll make a mark on my paper what it looks like when I'm measuring volts. And the second one is to push this button here, the green one that says 100 milliamps. Now when you push that button, you're going to notice that your generator starts spinning more slowly. And the reason why is because what amps measures is how much current is going through the generator. It's like putting a load on the generator, asking it to do work to push electricity through the meter, and so it's going to slow down a little bit as it's working to push that electricity through the meter. Try to make whatever adjustments you need to make in order to get the biggest measurements that you can for both volts and amps. Now, another thing you want to make sure is that you don't let the water all boil away from the can, because if you do, then the can is going to get really hot, and the welding that holds the can closed is going to melt, and then there'll be leaks in the can, and we don't want that to happen. The can will start to burn. It'll weaken the can, so the next person uses it, it'll explode. So make sure that you are always getting steam coming through and that your can doesn't start to smoke. Every little while or so, what you can do is you can move the flame away from the can, and you can take the can down off of the ring stand, and you can open it up and check your water level. Again, make sure that you use the round end of the can opener to open the can, and just check to make sure that you've got enough water in there, and add more water as needed. You can even experiment with different amounts of water. Just don't use less than 300 milliliters, because if you've used less, it'll boil away very quickly. So I could add more water, in which case there will be less air space to build up steam. Maybe less space makes more pressure, or maybe less water gives more space for the steam to fill up, and that makes more pressure. You'd have to find out by doing experimentation. So get your your generator spinning, and we'll see how much power you can get.